and it was falling on deaf ears. So now the day of reckoning is here. It's big and better.
Any other questions?
And you made a point about having this declaration done before the new governor assumes his post.
No, I'm saying that is what the committee has recommended.
Okay. So if the present premier is due to be examined in London, I think it's this week or so, that means that they would have to get their recommendation. They would have to examine that against what the evidence they do have and make their recommendation as soon as possible. They do make a recommendation. How does that affect this new governor coming forward? That he is the one.
Yeah, but let's just say this. This isn't an overnight process. If a commission of inquiry is announced,
yes,
there's a time frame. Number one, that they need to announce. Then they need to recruit who the commissioner will be.
Yeah.
They need to mobilize, need to get on the ground and mobilize their resources.
Yeah.
They then need to go through a process of conducting their investigations and their findings. Once those findings have, once they have those findings, then those that have been charged, or those that the commission finds to behave inappropriately, must be given an opportunity to respond. So there's a process that we have to go through, and this whole process, that's why I want to make clear to the people, this process to get to where we are right now has been a year-long process. Last year, the Foreign Affairs Committee started its process on the 5th of July 2007. Back then, the perception was that there was no evidence of corruption in Turks and Caicos. That's what the governor and everyone else was saying. At some point, we had difficulties with even getting meetings with British officials. So it was a process to be able to sit down. So we were able to sit down with them, and we simply provided the facts. They drew their own conclusions. They came to the Turks and Caicos Islands. They met with people. Hopefully they got a chance to meet with members of the press as well. But they met with persons here. They got additional written submissions, and from everything that they've gotten, they then wrote their report. In their report, as you would see that they highlighted in the report, it says, and this is the point I want to make clear. It says, in what follows, we make significant use of public submission from the leader of the opposition in the TCI, Honorable Seymour. However, we wish to emphasize that many of the allegations were supported by evidence submitted to us in confidence from across TCI. The bottom, basically what was in it, our submission is going to be highlighted significantly in this report. Not because we gave more evidence than anyone else, because there were a number of people, far more people that gave more than we did. But the problem is that because of this climate of fear, there are people that were afraid to have their names associated with what was going forward. The PDM has never been afraid of any ghosts. Alright? And that's what I said, there's nothing that I say that I can't stand behind. And so we have no problem with anyone quoting us or using anything that we say. Because we know that when we speak based on fact. When we draw our conclusions, the conclusions are based on fact and sound reasoning. So whatever we do, whatever we say, can withstand any level of scrutiny.
I think also you talked about the Premier traveling to London to be examined. And if we examine his statement yesterday that he addressed the nation, I think what people have to understand is that the Premier had ample time to make his submissions to the Foreign Affairs Committee. What he's doing now is he's coming and he's saying, well, it's not just going to be looking at us, looking at his administration, but it's too late for him to call an inquiry into other matters. The committee, they gave them ample time. They called him to England to make his representations. He gave his response. He said there was no corruption in the Turks and Caicos Islands. And so that includes, and he was in government. He had an opportunity to examine every PDM file that there ever was. And he concluded himself that there was no corruption under the PDM government. So if he had evidence of PDM corruption, he had opportunity, he had the time, and he had access to all of the information. We're not in government. He had access to all of the information. He is in government. And he refused. As a matter of fact, he went on the world stage and said, there is no corruption in the Turks and Caicos Islands. So now he comes after the Foreign Affairs Committee says, we need a commission of inquiry. He says, well, it's not going to just be looking at me. It's going to be looking at everybody. Well, he had ample time to say that before, which he didn't do. And he talks about the expense, about a commission of inquiry. He wasn't complaining about expense when he was spending money left, right, and center, doing any and everything he wanted to do. Okay? Any and everything he wanted to do in this world. The Turks and Caicos Islands people paid for it. And we must not forget the legacy of this government. People will come now, and some people may feel a bit sorry and sympathetic for the PNP administration. Please, let's not forget the legacy of this government. They have been incompetent at managing the country's resources. Incompetent financial management. They have been constantly under investigation for corruption and ministerial misdeeds. And I think that is why the governor tried to clear himself and say he called a commission of inquiry in October 2005. And if you look back, you'll see that there was a particular case in the courts around that time involving a minister. Okay? So this is their legacy. And they've been incoherent. They haven't been listening to people. They've had an unwillingness to listen to people. Even their own party supporters who've said to them, slow down, stop it. And they have been unwilling to listen until the bank has been broken because of it. And finally, when all of this thing comes to a head, the response that the PNP administration is that they misuse their power for their own selfish desire to hold on to the reins of power so they can get whatever it is they want. Even if it hurts our people, even if it hurts investment, even if it hurts local business people, it doesn't matter who it hurts. So when they talk about the PDM has an unhealthy desire to gain power, their desire to hold on to power is extremely unhealthy for themselves and for the people of this country. So let us be very mindful. This is a serious matter. It's not something